My dad signed my house over to my brother while I was standing 6 feet away from him. The pen was still in his hand when my brother looked at me and said, "You should have spoken up sooner." I did not grab the papers. I did not raise my voice. I did not beg my father to remember my mother. I let him finish because I needed every person in that attorney's conference room to believe I had already lost. My name is Daniel Reeves, and I was 34 when my father tried to erase me from the only house my mother ever trusted anyone to protect. It was a small one-story place in Tampa with a cracked driveway, a lemon tree, and a kitchen window my mother stood beside every morning. She died 2 years before this happened. The house stayed in a family trust until my grandmother passed. Then it was supposed to come to me. My brother Mark got my father's rental duplex. But Mark wanted the house because it looked better. And my father wanted peace because Mark punished every room when he did not get his way. That morning, Dad called it a family clarification meeting. He said we were only fixing paperwork. When I walked in, the attorney was not my mother's attorney. He was my father's business attorney, and the folder already had Mark's name where mine should have been. I asked for the full trust copy. Dad slid 3 pages toward me and kept the rest under his hand. That was the first real cut. Not Mark's smirk, my father's hand holding back the truth. Mark leaned back like he had already moved in. He said, "You never even lived there full-time, Dan." I had paid repairs, handled taxes, replaced the water heater, and sat beside my mother through nights Mark never showed up for. But Dad spoke before I could. He told the attorney I had verbally agreed to let Mark take over the property. Then he added, "Your mother was sentimental near the end. I am cleaning up what emotion made messy." That sentence did something to me. He did not just take the house. He blamed my mother's love for leaving it to me. For a second, I wanted to say everything. I wanted to remind him who slept in a chair by her door and heard her say, "Daniel, keep this place safe." But the attorney was watching my face like my pain was the problem, so I swallowed it. Then the attorney pushed the final page toward me and said my acknowledgement would make the filing cleaner. I read one sentence and saw the first crack. The document said I had received written notice 30 days earlier. I asked for a copy of everything they expected to file. Mark laughed and said, "Give him a copy so he can stop acting surprised." That line saved me. Arrogance makes people generous with evidence. In the parking lot, I opened the folder on my truck hood. The notice page had my old apartment address on it, a place I had not lived in since before Mom died. My father knew it was old because he had helped me carry boxes out of it. He had stood in that doorway, holding my mother's framed photo while I locked it for the last time. That was when my hands stopped shaking. Mark had lied for the house. Dad had built the lie a place to stand. Then I saw the second crack. The trustee page listed my grandmother as already deceased. She was not. She was alive in a care home 20 minutes away, unable to manage finances, but very much alive. Before I could call anyone, my phone buzzed. It was my cousin Emily. She sent a screenshot from Mark's family group chat. Mark had written, "Dad fixed the mistake Mom left behind." Under it, he added, "Locksmith comes Monday." I stared at those words until the parking lot blurred. They were not just taking wood, walls, and a roof. They were moving into my mother's final wish and calling it a mistake. Then Emily sent a photo from my old move-out day. Dad was standing beside my truck, holding Mom's framed picture, with the apartment number clear behind him. Emily wrote, "Isn't this the address they used?" I called the county clerk first. Nothing had been recorded yet, but the packet had been scheduled for intake. Then I called my grandmother's care home. The nurse remembered Mark visiting 6 months earlier because he brought flowers, signed the visitor log, and left before lunch. I asked for the log. Then I called Rachel Morgan, an attorney who answered like she had heard family greed before breakfast. Rachel did not tell me to storm back in. She told me the worst thing I could do was alert them too early. She prepared a dispute, an emergency trust review request, and a notice to the title office. Then she said Dad had scheduled a Sunday family meeting. Go, she told me. Let them talk first. Sunday afternoon, 20 relatives crowded into my father's living room. Mark stood near the fireplace with house keys looped around his finger. Dad opened by saying I was trying to punish my brother over a house I never earned. Then he looked at me and said, "Your mother would have wanted us united, not you making her death into a weapon." That one almost broke me. Not because it was true, because he knew exactly where to aim. My Aunt Linda said maybe Mom had changed her mind before she passed. Mark jumped on that. He told everyone Grandma wanted him to have the house because he had a family coming soon, and I only had pride. Then he said she told him herself. The room went quiet in the wrong way for him. I asked, "When did she tell you that?" He said, 6 months ago, when she signed the consent. I opened the care home letter Rachel had cleared me to share. 6 months earlier, my grandmother had already been medically documented as unable to understand property transfers. Mark's keys stopped moving. Dad said I was humiliating the family. I told him he had scheduled the meeting, not me. Then Aunt Linda asked why the papers said I got 30 days of written notice. I placed the mailing page on the coffee table. The old apartment address sat there like a witness. Dad's face changed before anyone spoke. Emily leaned forward and said, "Didn't you help Daniel move from there after the funeral?" Nobody answered fast enough. Then Emily showed the photo. Dad, my truck, my mother's frame, and the old apartment number behind him. For the first time, the room did not look at Mark. They looked at my father. Dad tried to call it an office error. Then Mark made the mistake Rachel had been waiting for. He snapped. "It would have been cleaner if you had just stayed quiet like Dad said you would." The whole room heard it. Dad whispered Mark's name, but it was too late. My phone buzzed. Rachel had received confirmation that our dispute reached the county before their transfer packet cleared intake. I stood up and told my father he could explain the rest in a room where every sentence would be written down. At the county review, Dad tried to speak first. The hearing officer stopped him and asked for the notice record. Rachel handed over the wrong address page, the care home letter, the visitor log request, Emily's photo, and the original trust section naming me as future beneficiary. Mark said I had agreed verbally. The officer asked for a witness. Mark looked at Dad. Dad looked at the table. That silence did more damage than any speech I could have made. Then the officer asked Dad why notice had been sent to an address he knew I no longer used. Dad opened his mouth. Nothing clean came out. Finally, he said, "I thought Daniel would make things difficult." There it was. Not mistake, not confusion, a choice. The transfer was paused, then rejected pending formal probate review. Mark lost access to the house that afternoon. In front of my aunt, my cousins, and the attorney he trusted, Dad said the words he had avoided for 2 years. He said, "I should not have pushed this through without you." Mark apologized without looking at me. Dad asked if this had to divide the family. I looked at him and said the family was divided when he decided my silence was easier than Mark's anger. The house stayed where my mother left it. My brother lost the thing he tried to take because he could not wait to brag about having it. My father lost the right to call pressure peace. A week later, I went back to the house alone. The lemon tree was still there. The kitchen window still caught morning light. I stood where my mother used to stand and realized something cold but useful. Sometimes you do not stop the lie at the first sentence. I let my father do it because I needed him to believe the house was already gone. I let my brother smile because I needed him comfortable enough to tell the truth badly. By the time they checked the papers again, my mother's final wish was already safe. And for the first time since she died, the house felt quiet again. Not empty, protected.
Would you have let it play like he did, or would you have spoken up sooner? Let me know. And thank you so much. Thank you so much if you're still watching. Thank you so much for watching this fictional story. See you in the next, guys. Thank you.